This conference will now be recorded.
So it's good to see you face to face for the first time. Excuse me, I got quite a mess going on here in the background.
It looks like quite a project. Yeah.
It is
COVID project.
All right, I'm going to start off by telling you just a little bit about CitizenServe, and then I'm going to turn it over to Misha, and she'll jump into the building permit process. I'll make it really quick. So we started 17 years ago as a software as a service. So we were really one of the first companies to market as a software as a service. So we've, everything has been architected and designed as a software as a service from the very beginning, always multi-tenant. The only user interface we ever had is the browser. So, much more mainstream model today than it was 17 years ago. People didn't really understand what it was. And now, it's kind of, again, people really do like that model. So I think we got on the right path early. We also started with something else that's very unique back then, and I think is still today. We've always had a complete support model for our customers, which means, once you're live, anything that you need to do in the system, if you want to, add a permits or change your workflows, you want to have a report written, you want to have changes to the portal, your fees updated, whatever it might be, we're going to do that for you, and there's never a charge.
Okay.
So that really is, it's comprehensive across everything that you would want, other than like converting other data or integrating with another system. We get about 85% of the things we get asked to do each day done that same day, so it's an incredible turnaround. Things like a report or changing a workflow process, those things will happen in a couple hours. If you say, hey, we got to add 5 new permits, or we need to revamp all of our fees across all our permits, it won't be done that day, but it'll be done in a week or two. And we really do that kind of 2 ways. First of all, the people that do support, they're not like a separate group of people that just do support. We put our best and our brightest out there. So our people who do implementations rotate through support. So you're always working with somebody that knows what they're doing. So yesterday they were working on implementations. Today they're on support, taking that knowledge with them. And next day they're back out doing implementations again. So you're always working with kind of the best people that we have. The other thing is, over 17 years since we've been doing support like this for our customers, we have a much different relationship with them. I mean, we continue to make CitizenServe very, very configurable because we're in there doing this work for our customers all the time on the support side. And so we want to be able to, do things, do it quickly. And so, a lot of the things that go on in the back, we've made changes to over the years to make it easier and easier and easier to do those things.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. So have you seen some of the demos online? Did you get a chance to look at those?
I did, and I visited Collinsville and East Moline, and our building inspector said Kiwani he thought was on. Is Kiwani one of your customers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're similar in size to us, but I didn't see some of the forms that we were looking for, but maybe their needs were a little bit different than us. So
yeah. And Misha can kind of walk you through some stuff, and then we can probably jump in there and take a look at that too, what they've got set up today. So the other thing I think that just to know about us, I don't know, we have a long-term perspective with our customers, definitely. I mean, we really try to do things that'll keep your price where it is. We've never raised a price on an existing customer in our history. One of the reasons we did support the way that we do is because we know it's hard for municipalities to get budget to make changes. So we take a long-term perspective with them. And a lot of it's just kind of based on how our ownership is. So I think the thing that's unique about us, first of all, we don't have any salespeople. No one here's on a commission or a bonus, even though right now I sound like a sales guy, but I'm not. I work with our customers through the implementations. I'm a 30-year project manager. I stay with you to make sure that anything you need go forward. My job is to make sure you're happy. But we don't have any debt. We don't have any external investors. So there's really no one telling us what to do other than our customers. We don't have to make quarterly financial statements. We don't have to pay a venture capitalist back or any of that kind of stuff. And so I think people are just the way, you've probably have you talked to any of our customers yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. So I encourage you to do that, and, they'll kind of say it is different working with them. So, because our relationship is different, and how we treat our customers is much different. So,
okay.
All right. Commercial message over. I'll turn it over to Misha. Oh, can't hear you, Misha.
That's because I'm busy mute talking. Sorry, I was clearing my throat earlier. I wanted to spare you. If you ever see that again, let me know. So we're staring at the CitizenServe webpage. This is where your staff get to log in at the login button. And here we list all of the services that we offer. So we have business licensing and code and permitting, planning and zoning, request tracking, and the online portal. And it's this last piece where we're going to start first. We're going to go to where your citizens can access the site and access services. So here is a out of the box build of our citizen portal, but this is configurable. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see on this homepage, we're listing all of our services. So again, licensing and permitting, development projects. On the right hand, our users can submit a complaint or submit a request. If you don't want to go live with all of these services, that's okay. We simply hide them from the portal so your citizens can't access what you don't offer. But this is a configurable form. So you would get your logo at the top. We can change the color scheme to more closely match the look and feel of your current site. The font can change, but of course the content can change. We can swap out these photos for photos you have. It's all very configurable. In addition to access to these services, we also have a lot of background content pages that we want to give to your constituents so they can answer their own questions during the process, so they can get through the process, hopefully saving you calls and contacts in the process. So we're going to visit the services pages for permits, but notice we have all of our services listed on that dropdown. When we go to the permitting pages, you can see we have tools on the left. Do you need a permit, or what are the submittal requirements? Here we can apply. Here we can view our permits. We can get more information or search. So this is a pretty robust page that will give your constituents lots of access to the site. This is a breadcrumb trail so that they can access additional details, like to figure out whether or not they need a permit. So I'm taking you here to another page that we would configure for you to display your license types, or sorry, your permit types. And then when your constituents were up to speed here, they could go on to look at the submittal requirements page as well. And this page has a lot of built-in hyperlinks. So when I click on the building permit overview, it's going to open up a PDF file. But this link could easily point to another page on your site or some other page out on the web if that's where your requirements are. So I'll close this one down. So just know that these pages are here to hopefully help your constituents answer their questions. Now, when you have your applications online, your constituents can search for them. We'll just do a quick search for permits and I'll submit. And you can see that we'll get a big listing of those permits. Report writing is also included in your subscription. So we can present any information here that you want your citizens to have. I'm going to show, this is the code complaint report. We'll run this in a second. This is a map report. This restaurant complaints is a pie chart. Here's a listing. We can also do mass mail merges. So we can set up letter templates and send it out to a big group of people. So we're going to run this code report, code complaints report, and we'll do it from the beginning of last year to today. So this is going to pull in all code complaints received by the date range listed here. You can see we're using Google Maps on the back end, so hopefully this is familiar. We get to use all of the same tools.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I don't have a mute button on mine.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, oh, do you have a question? Bless you. So we can use all of the features of Google, right? We can drag the map around. We can zoom in. We can go to satellite view. Sorry, I need to clear my throat.
I have a technical difficulty here. Might lose your audio or video.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Welcome back anytime. So we can take the street view guide and we can go onto the street.
Oh, that's very neat.
And take a look around. So you're in Illinois, right? So ta-da, there's something you don't see every day, the Pacific Ocean. But when you're in a map, that's right, it does look lovely. I wonder when this was taken. No fires here.
Right.
You also get access to map pins. So if you see a pin, you can click it and it pops up this information about this file. If I click this green pin, I get information about this file. So we can customize your reports to deliver the information you want your constituents to have. And this map feature is just a sweet way to see it. I'm going to take you to the My Accounts tab. This is where we'll log in. I'm going to use my existing credentials, but this is also where new users log in or where they create an account. So I'm going to show you a drop down. I want to tell you we are configurable. So when you see a drop down, all of these options were configured for this site. So there are 4 registration types here. You may want to have, homeowner or a specific, like electrical contractor. We can make whatever registration types you want. I'm going to select the contractor registration type just so you can see any red field with a red hash on it anyways is required. So we're asking for email and they have to confirm it. They have to give us their business name and their business address, and they have to give us at least one phone number. Then they have to set up a username and a password for the portal. But other than that, none of this information is required.
Okay.
We've added at the bottom workers' comp and liability insurance. So if you want to ask for additional details, we just create custom fields for you at the bottom of your screen. And when I say custom field, I mean, we have 24 different types of custom fields. So we're not creating something new for you. We're configuring this form to gather the information you need. So it's really quick and easy to do it. I'm going to switch types really quick to show you anonymous, just to show you that this is an example of a dynamic field. So when we listed contractor, you got a whole listing of all those input types. And now for anonymous, you don't. You get to decide if you want to offer this type. We offer this for people that want to submit a code complaint without giving their personal information. So that's enough about registration. One more page to show you, and then a couple other features, and then we'll do some work. So this is the contacts tab. We want to list department information for you so that your constituents can answer their questions and hopefully save you some visits. Now, another feature that we've installed is the chat feature. So let's get logged in today, just with my name and email address. Now, during COVID, we've had a bunch of people. Oh, good, it's Brian today. So let's go say hello to support.
And this would be for citizens to see as well as not. Okay.
Exactly. If your contractors need to know what their ID is, or need help with resetting their password, or need to know where to find a permit, our support team will take that on. So you can see Andrew's reading this message right now, and he's going to respond back.
Okay.
But this is specifically a tool to support your citizenry. Oh, and look, he says hi, LaSalle. Just say back. So Andrew and Brian and Jaron, these are all guys that work on support. We have girls too, but they do support 1 day a week, and then the rest of the week they're doing implementation. So they're building these sites for customers. So we don't have a tiered level. We're not escalating it to anybody. These guys have the knowledge needed to get this stuff done. And I will finish my sentence to Andrew, and I will close down. All right, so one last cool key feature to show you is that the portal was built with HTML5 responsive design. And that's just a fancy term. That means if you come to this on an iPhone, the content is going to shrink to fit on your phone screen in a logical way. So you can see we've got this information here. Now, if I go back out, oh, I have to scroll up. I'm like, where's my navigation menu? See, we're down at the bottom with all this stuff. If I scroll up, my navigation menu is now a finger clickable menu instead of being clickable on the right. And this is true too if you come on a tablet. Sorry, what was that?
I said, okay.
Yeah, okay. Oh, good. You're following along. So, so this is so important now because we can't dictate how users come to our site. So as long as they can display a web page on the device, we can display it as well in a logical way. So we're actually going to go in and we're going to apply for a permit. So I'm going to jump over to the permits page and we'll click apply online. And this gets us to the login. So I'm going to log in with my usual credentials. And how about I make this bigger so we can use the whole screen? And we'll just log in here. So I've already registered. Sorry, go ahead.
The two things that we're most interested in are code enforcement and permitting.
Oh, perfect. Now I have business licensing too.
That would be a third. That would be a third added bonus. But the other two are, in my opinion, necessities. Because right now we're paper pencil essentially, and it's not.
We understand. So the cool thing about the portal is that this is just citizen service, just the portal access. So when we build your applications on the site, your staff can fill them out, but they're also enabled on the portal. We can do staff only permits if you didn't want to enable the portal, but we really think that especially now with COVID, you need to have online access for things. So here is a listing of all of the permits that are defined in this environment. This is where we do demos from. It's a make-believe town. But know that we will build any number of permits for you. I'm going to pick the building permit and I'm going to pick the subtype of new construction. But remember, these are configurable. And in this environment, we are trying to showcase what the system is capable of doing. So if I show you a workflow that has 7 steps in it, don't feel like that's what you have to take home with you. We'll build whatever workflow you need, and I'll try to touch on those as we come up with them. So let's say our work description is new single family home. LaSalle. And then we're able to tie this application with an existing project. So if there was a subdivision and this was a house going in on that subdivision, if that contractor knew the file number, they could type it in, or they could put in the address and they could find that file. But for this demo, we're just going to say it's a new project.
Would it pull that data from whatever the contractor's inputted?
It's going to pull out, like if we go and we do this, because I have a lot of projects on 941 Baker. If I click, I'm not following directions. 941 is the street number. Bakersfield is the street name. Oh, it didn't find it in the system. Let's try this again. So these are a list of all of the files that are open at this address. So it's searching our database for these active files. And this is something that is optional. So if you don't want to allow them to link files, you don't have to, but it's definitely it's definitely included in the package. And it's beneficial for tying like building permits with electrical permits with mechanical permits all in the same file. And we'll see that in the demo today.
Okay.
So I am going to put this this application on 941 Bakersfield, but I want to show you, I can just type in a partial address of 9 Baker, and when I click find, it's going to pull up all of the addresses that match that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Match that. So we want to load your best set of parcel data into the system so that when your contractors put in a partial address, they get your listing.
What's the unique identifier for? Is it based on addresses or parcel number? Excuse me. What does every job have to have? A physical address?
Well, so we can set it up to allow, like, we can enforce a parcel address so that they have to get an address and pull it from parcel data and pull that data in if you want that. But we can also set up your applications to allow like an intersection, like 4th and Main, and I'll show you that in code enforcement. But that can be set up on a per application basis.
Okay.
Do you have lots of like non-parcel addresses in your system, or do you have people that are sort of in the outskirts that might request work?
I just want to make sure it's an option. We don't have a ton, but for new projects or new homes that might not have an address, we're waiting for the county to give an address. It does pop up. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just definitely a configuration option. So we're in the body of the application now. And I should just point out that this pulled in parcel and ownership data for this address. And there's more data that it pulls in on the back end. So we're going to say that this is one structure to be built. You can see it's going to populate some entry fields for me. If I had 4 or 3, it would populate that many data fields for me to fill in. So this is definitely a benefit over a paper form. So let's go ahead and pick our residency type or occupation type and our construction type. And our square feet. Ray, are you back?
I am.
Excellent. Welcome back.
Still having a little wackiness with my mouse and cursor, so I'm gonna leave.
You are technologically challenged this week.
I know, it's been something weird lately. So I'll spare you my frustrated face as I try to fix some of this.
Ray's headset broke this week. There's been some things.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like mouse and cursor. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting sunspots maybe or something. Something's weird.
So Leah, we're at the contractor entry right here. So we're integrated with contractor licensing here. So when I type in Smith, it's going to pull up a list of all licensed contractors from CitizenServe. So I can pick Smithsonian Construction. But we can also do other contact listings. So I had to register with the portal to be able to apply. So we can also type in Smith here. And this listing is giving us all of the registered contractors. And that's this guy right here. And we can do that with all the trades. So if you want to do it with licensing or registration. And now we can go ahead and upload a document. We'll get our site plan in here. I'll just go to my permitting files. And then we'll do a landscape plan also. And then here are terms and conditions. We can do this any way you want. In this case, we're just going to check this box to say we agree. And we're able to capture a signature. So I'm just using my mouse to sign, and we'll save. Now, this field is just to showcase that we have these long text box. If you need them to enter something really big text-wise, we can do that. In this case, it's called a Dropbox link. So your contractors can give you a link to super huge files in Dropbox. And this is just a draw your site field. So we can just draw the house and draw the property line, and we could be done. Now it's created that as well. So I'm going to submit. There was a button there that said save for later. So if I got called away, I could have saved this in my profile. But this message that pops up tells me that my application is received, and now it's pointing me to the payment processor. In this case, this permit is doing a plan review fee, which is super low. It makes me suspicious. We'll have to check out and see what I put on that permit. Maybe I only gave it a 200 square foot. Usually it's around $4,000 for plan review. So we'll see what I did. So I'm going to enter in credit card information, but I wanted to, I can't talk and do this at the same time. It's 15 ones. I can't master talking and counting to 15 internally at the same time.
Do we have the ability to partner with whoever we need for payment processing, or do you have somebody you work with?
So yeah, we actually have about 20 different payment processors that we've done integration with. We don't maintain any kind of relationship with any of them or support any one of those, but if you want to use one of those, there's no charge.
Okay.
But if there's one that we haven't done and you want to use them, then there's an $8,000 fee, and then the next lucky customer gets that one for free. So.
Okay.
Do you know who you guys use?
Easy, right?
I don't know who we use, but I know we use somebody external, so I'll just double check.
Okay, yeah, let me know. Or I can send you we can send you the list of the ones that we've done integration with. You can look at that too.
Okay.
Just put a note. So I pulled up this email because the system is sending automated emails. When we submitted our application, I received this email that says your permit application has been received and is currently under review. So we get header information about our file. This gives us the number we can find in the system. Plus, the most important thing is this link back to that application. This is a template for this environment, but this is done in HTML, so we can really make it look however you want. We can include your logo, we can change the color scheme, and of course we can change the data that's displayed. We just select it out of the database. It's just SQL on the back end, so we can include anything there. So this is an example of one. Now this payment amount says 0 because this email was triggered when we submitted our application. Technically, the contractor can close out of that payment processor and not make a payment. But when the payment was made, I received this other email that says your payment has been received. Okay. And then, so that's like a receipt. So here we've submitted our application. We again see receipt information on the screen, but let's go see what it looks like. I also have to figure out why my amount was so low. So I'm going to view my my permits, and we can see our permit at the very top. So I'm going to click this link, and it'll open the file. Now we have buttons on the left, right? Tools on the left, so we can edit our permit or make a payment or request an inspection or upload documents or leave a message. And this is all going to trigger notification on the staff side so that whatever happens in the portal can get tracked and addressed on the staff side. And then we've got header information up at the top and this image from Google, which we can update. Okay, good. On this permits tab here, we can see that I put in for a 200 square foot house. That is a really expensive tiny house, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just edit this permit because I want to show you how we can update our fees. So this square footage is used in our calculations. So I'm able to go in and edit my my permit right now, and I'll resubmit. And I'll resubmit. And this is actually going to trigger additional fees to be applied. Usually I put in an extra 0 in my initial one, but we'll just see. So now it's telling me that my changes have been submitted. Your users have this option. They don't, of course, have to do this, but now you can see my initial square footage is, or my square footage is 2,000 and my balance due is now $11,000. So that went up a lot based on that piece of that calculation changing. So I just edited this permit, but this button is dependent on the status that it's in. So if you don't want your users to be able to go in and make changes, we can hide that button. And when we put it under review, it will hide that button. So we'll get there in a second. So in the reviews tab, you can see the review route that's been assigned. Now, again, this is one of those points where I don't want to scare you off. This has like 7 different steps, but this is just to showcase that we could go to different departments. This one's going to building, and this one to engineering and conservation and planning and zoning. And then there's more building reviews. So in this instance, there's only one start date. That means only the first task exists so far in the database. When we complete this one, then it's going to trigger a bunch of concurrent reviews. So during your implementation, we would work with you to figure out what your workflow is and assign tasks to the appropriate person at the appropriate time. I'm going to click over to the Documents tab to show you all the documents that have been uploaded. And as things are generated, they'll show here too. And then finally, the Inspections tab is where we'll see inspection history. So do you have questions about this, what you've seen so far? We're about to leave the portal and jump into the staff side, but this is a great time for questions if you have them.
That's exactly what we're looking for, so.
Oh, great. Okay. So imagine when you were on the portal that you were wearing a hard hat, right? Go ahead and take that off and put on an imaginary name badge because we're in staff side and we're going to be very professional about this. So we are looking at Morgan's homepage, but every staff member gets their own homepage and we will set it up for you during implementation. But I want to show you the features here and that each user can configure their own to make sure they've got the tools that'll help them get their job done. So primarily people have their task list at the top, right? This is everything that Morgan has to do. And you can see there's like some red items here. I want to talk about these first. This exclamation point in a circle, this is an example of a system alert. This alert was placed on a property, but you can put them on contacts or people. You can put them on files. So this property alert says aggressive dog at this address. So if code enforcement gets called out to 950 Visalia, they'll also see this alert and they'll know that there's this dog there. And you can also set them on contacts. So I think if I go to 970, this one has an alert on a contact to verify funds. This contractor has bounced 2 checks in the past. So when business licensing takes in the renewal, they'll see this alert and they'll know they need to verify. So alerts are a great way to get information out. It's going to sit with that contact or that file. Now this hand is an example of a standing condition, and these conditions get set during the review process, and they also stick with the project until they get cleared. So this one says check for proper concrete, and this is a condition. This one says liability insurance needs to be updated. Again, it's just another way to let staff know what's up. Now, in addition to these 2 notices, we do have the ability to input SQL conditions. So and I'll show you those. I'll show you when we print the permit, but we can do things programmatically to stop your users from doing things that they shouldn't at certain points in the process. So again, in our task list, these are the tasks that she's going to complete. And then here's a link to the project that those tasks are on. And then there's the address for the project and the description. There's a pending status and a date. And then we have metrics over here. So if I wanted to like stick my head in the sand and hide those 13 overdue items, I could just look at the tasks that are due. That's interesting. So my counts are a little bit off. You know what? Because I didn't refresh before we started. Let's try this again. So here we can see, we can see this application intake step, plus there was an online modification made for our LaSalle project. So every time something happens in the portal, we get notified. So she's got those 2 tasks related to ours. And we'll get into those in just a second. Other key features of our homepage are the metrics. This is a report. These are reports, but they're very graphical. So this overdue permit review, we can see that there are 64 total, and it's broken into these color categories across the top, and that corresponds to these departments down here. So this is helpful to look at, right? We can totally go to planning and zoning and complain that they're late. But if we wanted to look at the actual files that were held up, you just click on the link, and it pulls up this listing. And from here, we're browser based. We want to use all the features. So when I click on a permit, it's not going to reuse my tab. It's going to open it into a new one. So I can have these on different monitors. I can compare them side by side. I can do my work here, save, and then close the browser window. And it takes me back to that initial metric. So really cool feature. Now, these metrics display a certain set of information, and these are out of the box. I'm going to show you how to add or remove these. So I'm just going to click on that little gear icon. We can see that our metrics display 3, but we've got this whole host of all of these that are sort of out of available. What do I not have? How about I look at pending tasks by user? So I'm going to select a metric from this list, and I'm going to select the time period and the scope. And scope would be whose work is it? And we'll say everybody's because it's a demo environment. And when I click save, it's going to reload this. So as I scroll down, you can see that our 4th task gets added. We can see that total pending tasks here. Now, what if you have an idea for a metric that will really help you monitor your work, but it's not available? It is. It really is. You just go up to the support center and you submit a new request. Every user has access to the support center. You just give your request a title and you describe what you need and you submit it. Now, the more detail you give us, the quicker that we can respond to you, but we have about an 85% same-day turnaround. So this is available to all of your users. So that's a little bit on metrics. Now, other things are like my recent files. This is the last 10 or so that you've worked on. The My Link section allows you to change your settings. And then we have notes here. So if you, like I said, hello to Oro Valley yesterday, you can add a new note here. Say hello world. This is just a note to self. You can exit off when you're done. So this is the home page, and it is available. It includes all of these helpful tools. But if you want to change your home page, you can just click on the gear button, and you can say, I don't really use that notes thing, and I don't need the My Link, so I'm going to save this, and it's going to refresh this page. Now we've just got recent files and metrics and tasks. So super easy. So let's go in, and we're going to do the first step in the workflow. So I'm going to go to application intake. Remember, this was the only one that had a date on it. So this is what that task looks like when we open it. It tells us that the department that we're in and the name of the task and who it's assigned to, and here's the name of the permit. We could have multiple permits in this overarching file, and if we did, they'd be listed here. This is helpful, this little ... What this reviewer wants to do is see the permit and then do the review work. So I'm going to click the ... That's going to open the permit in a new tab. So now I can take a look at this from the staff side. We see we're in the same project. We're just now on the permits tab. So here we can see what the applicant filled out, but we also see staff only fields. So here's our status of online application received. And since we're starting the review process, we're going to change this to under review. And that's going to mean the applicant can't make any more changes. And as I scroll down, you can see the project information that was entered, those 2 contacts that we added, and then our submittal documents. Now we have some links. If you wanted to integrate with Bluebeam, we could do that. You could use that, but we have our own document markup tool, which we'll see in a minute. This site plan is listed here. We could go into the markup tool here. I could delete it. The certified plot plan has a select file button, so nothing's been uploaded. We can link to forms if we need to and display them. We also have the ability to show fields on the staff side that are hidden on the portal and vice versa. So if you want to ask for Social Security on the front end but not display it here, that's a possibility. And now we're at the cashiering piece. So this, under this gray bar, this is all staff only fields. We're calculating fees based on valuation. If I change it to estimated construction cost, I'm just going to point out I haven't made the update yet, but this is the total fees are $13,375. And when I recalculate, it's going to base it on estimated construction cost. I think it's actually going to be a little bit cheaper. It's thinking at the top there. So it shaves like, $290 off of that fee. We're going to change that back, but you have the ability to modify these as needed. Our goal is to charge the fees that are needed based on the permit type that's selected or the custom fields that are filled out. But if you want your staff to be able to add manual fees, they do that using the barcode. So this barcode it tracks all of the miscellaneous fees, and we can define as many as you need in the system. In this case, I have 2 fees and a credit. So I'll just show you how to do a miscellaneous fee, and we'll add that. I think this is, so I have been so conversational through this whole thing, and I realize that we want to get through code enforcement and maybe licensing too. So I'm probably going to have to stop splaining so much. I'm probably just going to have to do it more. So so we're going to probably shift into higher gear in a second. But I did want to show that this $25 fee was applied, and we can we'll take a payment. But I'm not going to go through that step right now. So Morgan is looking at this application. She's taking note of the questions that were asked. We're going to save this because we've done that status change. And every time we do a status change, it's going to notify the applicant, so they're aware of what's going on at each step in the process. We can also leverage those emails to give them information about this is what's happening in this step. This is how long it's going to take. This is who you can contact if you want to have them. So here we are back at the review activity, right? We're in this gray review tab. So she's got some tools that she can use, like this common comments book. Here I'm going to check off this comment that is commonly used. It's about missing documents. So I'm going to delete the site plan because we've uploaded that, and I'm going to delete the landscape plan, but they're missing these other ones. So when I save this common comment, it's going to put it down below in my review comments window. And that's going to be used to notify the applicant that they're missing those documents. So we're also going to go into our document markup tool, and that's this guy up at the top. It's the page with the brackets. This is going to list all of the documents that are uploaded, and it'll allow us to do markup. So right now, it's going to take 45 seconds to a minute. What it's doing is it's loading this PDF file on the server, and it's changing it into a format that will allow us to add layers to it. Every reviewer gets their own layer, so that's how we can have concurrent reviews. So Morgan is the only person that's in the system right now, but when she's done and we go into our next reviewer, they're going to be able to pull this document off the server in about 2 seconds. So it's just this little load time that we wait for as we initially open the file on the project. So the tools that we get to use, though, are shapes. So we can add a square or a circle or an arrow or a straight line or a free draw tool. All of these shapes can have comments applied. So if we circle something, we can make comments about what it is that we've circled. We can add stamps. Those are going to load as soon as the image loads or as soon as the plan set loads. And we also have tools like the ability to add bookmarks to pages or add text in a text box. We can highlight. And the coolest thing is that we can do calculations and measurements. So without further ado, here is our site plan document. You can see we've got that proposed house. And oh, look, there's an existing garage. I didn't draw that in. Let's pull a stamp over. We'll just pull the receive stamp, and I'm going to add a comment to it. I'll just say Morgan reviewed on Friday afternoon, and we'll save. And I'm going to do one more thing. No, I've added this. We can see it has the received stamp name, a date, the user's name, and there's a little town logo in there. We could put it in a place so it's very visible on the site plan. And now let's go ahead and draw a circle shape. And I'm going to do it around this reserved drain field. So here we've added another shape. It gets numbered, right? This is number 2. This is a circle shape, so it's called circle, but I can call it drain field just to help the contractor know what we're talking about. And then again, we can go into the common comments book, and it's going to add comments right to this shape. So we have filter groups available. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. I'm going to select irrigation system comments because I don't have anything specific to a drain field. And I'll just add the comments that I want. I can also add a manual comment, right? And then we'll save. So we have a shape and we have a stamp, and I'm going to save this comment. Now, this is an integrated tool. So I could go through the rest of these documents and make comments on them. And when I'm all done, all of the comments that I've added fall down to my review comment screen. These can be pulled into emails and letters. So in real life, if we were done with this review, we would want to email the applicant to say, hey, you need to upload these documents. What would be even better would be an application that required those, but you get to determine what's required and what's not. So I just went to the email button and I clicked send email, and now I'm able to select a template that I want to use. So it's the incomplete application template. And I'm going to click the ... to select myself as the recipient, say applicant. And now I can add attachments if I want, but what I'm really going to do is just send it off. And this is going to, and I'll pull it up when it hits my inbox. So this is just notifying the applicant that they need to upload more documents. So they can go out to the portal and they can do those uploads. They don't even have to edit the permit. They just do the document upload step, and we'll get notified when that happens. Now, let's pretend that we got those documents back and that everything's groovy and we're ready to complete this task. So I'm going to give it a completion date and a status. And remember, this is a drop down, so we can configure your statuses for you. We'll say that this is approved, and I'm going to go ahead and save this. So we're on the reviews tab, and I've saved this activity. It's going to update us, and it's actually taking us up a level into the review route that this activity is on. So if I scroll down, you can see that this is the route name, and here's the status of the route. And then here are the steps on that route, the review activities. We completed this first one, application intake. Now it has a completion date. And this has triggered all 5 of these next reviews to be generated. And now they're sitting waiting for other reviewers to complete. So we are going to go in as our next user, Liam, and go ahead and update your name badge. It should say Liam. Doesn't have to have his picture, but it's your imaginary name badge. You can make it look how you want, right? So in his, are you able to see this clearly enough? Do I need to zoom in?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you notice, he has 2 tasks related to this workflow as well. He has application review and he has required inspections, and it's both for our project. So we're going to start here at this application review. We're going to go back into that markup tool. Now, he would probably do the same thing Morgan would do, right? He'd want to click on the ... so that he could look at the permit application and see what the applicant is looking for. He'd say, okay, one structure, R3, 2,000 square feet, VB, blah, blah, blah. And then he'd go back to the review task and he can go into the markup tool and look at the plan set. So when we pull this up now, it loads really quick because it's been cached into the server. So we don't have to go through that process every time. And he's going to pull on a receive stamp, and we'll mark his as Liam reviewed. Now, we know that we just made a comment by Morgan, but by default, it only shows the current reviewer. All you do is check the box and it'll show you every reviewer's comments. We're never going to clobber them because we're in our own layer. And in fact, if you notice, hers are grayed out now because we're in as a new user. So I can see this, but I can't drag it anywhere. And I can see that there are comments, but I can't change these comments. It's because it's in a different layer, but I still have visibility to those. So Liam can use her stamp as a guidepost so that he won't put his stuff over that. Now we can see her drain field thing as well too. So let's do a calculation. I'm going to click the calibrate tool and I'm going to draw this stated line. Normally you'd want a scale diagram to do this, but I don't have that on this. So I'm just going to put in 280 feet for this line and we've calibrated the document. So now I'm going to click this area tool and this will let me calculate the square footage of this proposed house. So I'm going to click in each corner and I'm trying to go slow and steady so that I can be accurate here. We're just going to follow the outline of the house. And when I come back home, it's going to give me the square footage. So let me zoom in so you can see that. This is coming up as 3,912 square feet, 0.06 square feet. So this square footage is really underreported and I want to make a note. And we'll just round, we'll round. So 3912 is what we come up with. And if I want, I can rename this from area to square footage of house. We can also change the outline color. So let's make this blue and we'll choose. And then let's just do an arrow shape and we'll point to this 45-foot line. We're going to go into the common comments book and we're going to pretend that this line is really a fence. So I'm going to select my fence and pools comments and I'm going to go ahead and pull in a couple of fence comments and I'll save. And then we can make this arrow thicker if we wanted. We can change the outline color. And then with these three shapes on this markup tool, I'm going to save my changes and exit out. He would continue through the process and look through all of these documents, but we're going to move on. And I'm just showing you that all of those comments that we added are now below in his review comments section. So he's not going to send an email out. He's just going to complete his activity. But based on all his comments, he's going to say, nope, I need resubmittal. And when we save this, that's just going to update his task. So everybody knows that Liam is done and he has comments and he needs resubmittal required. So I want to pop in and show you one more task, and then we're really gonna start going fast. So this is the required inspection task. This was the second item that was assigned to him on the workflow. He could go back to his home page, but since we're here, he can just click required inspections. And we show you this so that you can see if you have a specific checklist that your users need to fill out, if they need to track that they've sent items or make notes, whatever, we can build those fields right here and they can fill them out. In this instance, all of these items that I'm checking off are going to print out on our permit card as required inspections. So when he's done with that task, he just adds a date and adds a status of complete, and we'll save this. So now we're back in this review workflow route. We get to see the status of the completed reviews. Those have all been changed, and then we get to see what's pending. In real life, if we had a resubmittal required and all of these other reviews came back, this permit would probably need to be sent back to the applicant for changes. You can all do that in the system. What I'm going to show you how to do is how to close this whole review route. And I'm going to say that it's in resubmittal required. So we'll give it a completion date of today, and we're just going to pretend that all those reviews are done and we have to send this back. So I can put it in resubmittal required. And now it's saying, hey, there are activities that are incomplete. Do you want to complete them? This is going to pull them off of people's task lists. So I want to say yes, especially since this is my demo environment and they'll just hang out there forever. So now we get to see that this whole review route has been addressed. It's in resubmittal required state. So that gives everybody a heads up of the status. And then you get to see the start and completion date. If this had a duration, it would list it.
Okay.
So the next step would be to put the permit in a status of resubmittal as well. We're not actually going to go that route because of time today. But when a new update is received, you can add a new route. So I'll do that here as well. So you can see if you got your update and you wanted to send new documents through a review route, you just add it. So this is that building permit new construction review. This lists the whole workflow route, and you can decide, nope, I've already done that application intake step. It doesn't need to go to engineering, and it doesn't need to go to planning and zoning, and it doesn't need the required inspections activity completed. So when I save, I've now updated this workflow route, and I will refresh it since it hasn't just magically appeared for me. There we go.
Could we?
So now here's our new route. What was that?
I have another meeting at 2:30. Could we skip over to the code enforcement?
Is it 2 o'clock your time?
There's 2:15 here, but I have another meeting.
Oh, for Pete's sake. I'm sorry. I thought that I had 45 minutes. Yes, we can do code in 15 minutes. Thank you for saying something.
Okay.
Just really quickly, we can issue the permits here as well. In this case, I'm going to take just a second. If I issue this, I'm going to change it to issued. It's going to fill in these dates, and I just select the document generator. We can build your permit in whatever format you need. But this document generator will let me pick the permit card. And when I click generate, this is an example of a SQL condition. It's detecting a balance on this permit, and it's presenting me with this warning. I can bypass it. But we could also set it up as a stop. And then here's the permit with those inspection types that I listed. So I'll just save this off. And then are you guys paper and pencil for code enforcement too?
For the most, yes. It's definitely not a database. It's a spreadsheet maybe.
So we're going to go out to the portal, and I'm going to show you 2 different forms. We can submit a complaint. We build our forms, right? That's what we do. We can configure them to your specifications. This is an easy complaint form. We'll say trash left in neighbor's yard. Please excuse the typos. We're in a hurry. We're going to pick code enforcement, and we're going to pick the address. And this will be 141 Baker. So it pulls in data, and it allows me to submit. So this just was a description and a type and an address, and then we sent it. But if you want to collect other data, if you want a category or if you want types or anything, I'm going to show you this other form. So we'll say streetlight out at 4th and Main, and then we can select the type of request related to address. Now, in this case, I'm just going to type 4th and Main, which doesn't have any parcel data associated with it. So it's going to give me this prompt. It's not found. I can just use this address. So this is a sort of an example of a non-parcel address. And now it's asking me for a general type. So these are all the types defined. I'll select street, sidewalks, and signals. And then it asks for a subcategory. So we can set up your forms to collect the data that you need. This will be a street light. Now it's also asking to describe it's very dark at night. And if I wanted to, I could attach a photo, but we're just going to submit this. So these are going to get routed to staff, but I want to take you in. We've got 12 minutes. We're doing great. Actually, I can show you a bunch of this in record time. So this is the code enforcement officer's inbox, and we can see the tasks that we just created are right here on the bottom. Sorry, right here on the bottom. I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a code enforcement case. When you hit create, like if our phone rang and it was Ginny complaining about her neighbor, we can say neighbor has parked junk vehicle on street all week. We can add the complainant by just clicking add contact, and then we can search for her in the system because you don't want to just add new every time. So when we find her, it just pulls her information in. And if she has the address information, that's great. We can use the map to search for it. I'm going to put in the address of 123 Baker. And this is what it looks like to pull this in on the staff side. So we can see these 2 different options. I pull in Alice Broadfoot's address. And then you can track things here if you want, but none of these are required. So at the very end of this form, we're able to just verify that we want it to start today, and we're going to click save, and this is going to create our code case. Our code of officers would go out now and take a look at this, but just very quickly, here's the image of the site and the address. This looks very much like the permit file does. This history tab is your audit history for the whole case. 2 whole things have happened. But if we wanted to go out on site, I'm going to just skip over to the activities tab so you get a taste of an inspection. Now we could do this on our mobile device, but it will take me precious seconds to load up my emulator and get logged in. So I'm on a laptop. This laptop could go out on site, or we could deliver this information on an iPad. It's just we're device and browser independent. So here's our inspection and code enforcement. They get to add violations. So I'm going to click this little triangle. We can filter by section. So if I want to just look at property maintenance stuff, you know, code is the only field that's required, but I'm going to select the description and it's going to populate that code value. And if I want to read that whole code description, I can click the ... and I can see it here. So I'm going to add a follow-up date of 2 weeks because that will help add an activity to my calendar. I don't have to write comments, but I can. What I'm going to click is save and add another. And this pop-up is allowing me to schedule that follow-up based on that date that I selected. So that has just added a follow-up activity. And now I can go ahead and go back to property maintenance and we'll select a description for overgrown vegetation. So I'm not going to add a follow-up date here, but I do want to just add a comment to say must mow to less than 3 inches, and then we'll save. Now we can also be taking photographs on our device and we can upload those. So I'm going to go to the left bar over here and I'm going to add a document to this project. It allows me to select files. Sorry?
Is it just internal users that can do that, or can people from outside submit a photo with their complaint?
They can, and we saw that on the request form. I just didn't click the button to save time. But yes, we can absolutely make this available. So I'm going to select the abandoned photo and the weeds, and we'll include both of these. So it's uploading these, and it's allowing me to associate these with the violation. So overgrown weeds. So now I've added 2 violations. I've taken 2 photographs and uploaded them. If I show you the violations tab, you can see the 2 here. The last thing that I want to do is actually generate a notice of violation. So I'm going to go back to my inspection activity, and I am going to generate this letter. Actually, hold on. I'm going to add a completion date of today, and we'll give them a status of follow-up. And then when I generate the letter, it'll complete this activity for me as well. So here it's pulling all the contacts. Here's our complainant and the property owner. So I'm going to select the notice of violation from our dropdown, and it's asking if I want to include photos or attachments, and I do. I've got this show thumbnail button so you can see those as well. Now the next thing that it's going to prompt me to do is enter a certified mail number. This is an example of a letter variable. So if your inspectors need to collect a license number or if they have to put in a hearing date, this is how they could do it. And when I submit, now it's ready for me to generate that letter. So here is just a sample code violation letter. It has those 2 violations that we added. In this case, I had added a date so it displays, and in this one, I'd added a comment. You don't have to add these things, and we can format these letters however you want to include whatever information you want. So I just want to show you what's possible. And as I scroll down, then you get to see the photographs. So if you have a Bluetooth printer, you can print this off and post it on site. Or if you have a Google printer, you can print it back to your office. In this case, I'm going to save it, and it's going to save it to file. You can print it out later. And now let's go back, and I'll show you the activities tab. This initial activity is completed, and it's in follow-up required. So if we wanted to go back, let's imagine that 2 weeks have passed. Here's our reinspection activity. It's dated the 16th. Let's say that the grass has been mowed. So I'm going to access that violation, and it's going to allow me to edit it right from this screen. So I'm going to say that this is closed. It adds a close date, and I can say that it's abated, and I can make a note. Grass mowed looks great. And then we'll save this. But let's say the car is still there. Car on-site grass. Good grief. Grass mowed. We can give this a completion date. It's in the future now, it's the 16th. We'll still say follow-up required. And now I just want to generate a citation notice. We would program in your workflow here, like whatever letters you send out, we would just build them in for you. I'm going to select the citation notice, and it's asking if I want to include the pictures. So because it's the vehicle that's left, I'll just include that car, and then I'll generate. So this report just ran. It's showing me this letter, but really in the background, it's also gone out and it's run a SQL script to add fees to this project. So there's that picture again. I'll go ahead and save this letter. It saves this to the background, and now I have fees associated. And then on that violations tab, it's also updated. Now I have one closed and one open violation. So this was a very rushed, quick overview of code enforcement. But we work with you on building this to make sure it meets your needs. There's one other thing I wanted to show you, and that's if you have to escalate this, how do you get all of this information in one shot? And it's just a custom report. If you click select all, it includes everything. And you can hide things you don't want to see. Like I don't want to have all of those photographs included because they're in each of the letters, and I can hide Ginny's name, but I'll keep all the violations in. So when I submit, then you get this report with our header information, and Ginny's information isn't in there. Here are 2 violations, and here's the chronological history. So we can print this off to printer and hand it off to somebody, or we can save it to PDF and email it out. And there you have it.
Essentially print all of them off at the end of the day, any violations you saw for the day. Can you batch print?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can create a report for you. That's all included in your subscription. You just say, I need to be able to see what open violations, were submitted today or
Okay.
whatever.
That's very slick.
Great. Great. And I'm sorry I messed up on the time. I spent so much time on permitting and I didn't even get to print out a real permit for you or show you inspections on the permitting side. Darn it. You'll have to go to the website and look at our other demos.
I should have asked you more time. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. And I'm sorry. Licensing is a lot like permitting, but we have a renewal process that we run it through. So those can renew and you can collect more fees on those. So if you have questions, just let us know. We can do another demo if that works.
And just a reminder, I'm assuming, 7 days, 30 days from when the license is about to expire for the year.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Liquor license, things like that. Okay. And then I think I talked to Jim and Ray earlier about the price is based on the number of users that we have inside City Hall here.
Uh-huh.
I think did you put in I think you had actually.
I did. I just did online.
Yeah.
Form. We started with 6. Is that basically just the landing pages you're going to have?
That would be the number of named users from your side, yeah.
Okay, so we just need to verify how many that's going to be. It's going to be.
Right.
How much does the price go down if you went to 3 users versus 6?
It really doesn't. We have a 5-user minimum.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. And then what's the turnaround time for implementation?
It kind of varies from customer to customer. I mean, the way that we work, we don't really start with a scope. So we just do a meeting with your departments each week, a go-to-meeting session just like this. And then we'll show them the work we've done. They'll give us feedback. We really encourage people to get hands-on every week and try the stuff that they just saw, give us more feedback. We kind of keep going through that process until you say that's the way that we want it. Okay. And so, I would say, like you guys said, I would predict like 5 to 7 months, but we really do see a lot of variation.
Okay.
How,
we don't have a lot of data migration, so would that expedite the process?
Yes, that would help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as, I guess I need to look at the other websites. It's not built into our current website. You would actually take the person off of our website to your citizen search site, correct? It's not built into our team.
Well, yeah, you'll have links on your website where you're like, apply for a permit, and then that'll take them into ours.
Okay. They're not just iframes and things like that. Okay.
No iframes. We try to avoid it.
That's very informative. Thank you very much. That was a very thorough presentation, and this is exactly what we're looking for. It just comes down to the cost and persuading the decision makers. So
exactly. Yeah. Well, if there's anything I can do to help, any questions that you have, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nice job, Misha.
Thanks, Leah. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.